Kimberly, go ahead and join. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Kimberly, go ahead and join. Welcome to QuaranSTREAM. This is an opportunity for us to come together to be able to answer questions and hopefully address the many things on folks' minds. So my name is Abrar Omeish. As you may know, I'm your member at large on the Fairfax County School Board. And I'm pleased to be able to be here with...
Hi, my name is Kimberly Boateng, and I am the 2019-20 student representative to the FCPS School Board.
So we understand that this has been a really uncertain time, full of questions, confusion, and perhaps pain and difficulty for many families. I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. And I want to also say that this is exactly why we're coming together. This is exactly why we want to reassure one another and that we will get past this. Our county has seen worse, and we have been able to come together to bring about wonderful things. I want to make sure that we provide this opportunity for folks to answer questions about what's going on in the school system. Are we going to be learning? Are we not? Are folks being paid? What on earth is happening in Fairfax County Public Schools? Because I know that there's been a lot of things and a desire to hear some more. I'll talk a little bit about why we're where we are and what puts us in this situation in a bit. But I did want to make sure that I first said that I promise you, I want to remind everyone that Kimberly and I are both one of you. We're also members of the community who are adjusting to these times. And I say that to say that for me, I'm really on the outside here looking in to see how can we really serve every child, every family, and make sure everyone is taken care of in this difficult time. So I hope folks know that there's a team of people who have been working nonstop around the clock. Day in and day out. So I'll elaborate a little bit more about that in a bit. And Kimberly also has a message for our students.
I just wanted to make sure that my message is that going through this whole situation for everyone has been a tough one. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that whatever feelings that they have, any anger, any confusion, frustration, all of that is valid and it's also being heard. For me, I want to speak personally because I'm also a student, and it's been tough for me to personally adjust to this whole thing, and just like I'm sure it's been tough for everyone else. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that it's okay and completely normal and valid to feel upset about this whole thing because it was completely unprecedented, and we're all going to get through this together, and we just all have to make sure that we know that we're all in this together and we'll all emerge stronger.
That's exactly right. And I'm looking forward to being able to share with Kimberly a lot of information today that hopefully will make folks feel a little more settled and to answer those questions and to continue having that as an opportunity throughout the coming weeks. So the way that today will work is we will have an overview of a number of topics. It'll probably be longer than usual because there are many things to go over. And then we will open a live Q&A session for everyone. So you can send in your comments. We're watching the feed here and we'll be answering those questions that do come in. So we can go ahead and get started. So who's even making decisions right now? I think that's something that may be on people's minds. It's helpful. I'm gonna have Kimberly go over a little bit of who the players are, and then I'll talk about some of the legal restrictions that we have and what we are able to do.
Okay, so kind of to give the rundown of what everything is, because I'm sure from the outside, it kind of seems as if like this person is doing everything or this person is not doing this. So I just wanted to give some insight. So the school board, there are 12 members, not including me. I'm the student member, and I am not in charge, but I represent all the students in the county. And then every student in the county has 4 school board members. So that is 3 at-large members, and then each person has 1 magisterial school member, which is an area zone. So based on where you live, you'll have that designated school board member. And everyone in the school board, we also have Dr. Scott Braybrand, which is our superintendent, and he's basically one that kind of, don't quote me on this, Abrar can correct me if I'm incorrect. He basically oversees the functioning of the school, and the school board basically is in charge of overseeing him and advising him.
That's exactly right. So Dr. Scott Brabrand operates as the CEO of our school system. You may have been receiving updates from him. He did a Facebook Live a few days ago. And then, as you said, the 13 of us are the ones really who try to connect with the community and hear what the oversights might be, what's going on, and bring that to his attention to help guide the direction of the school system. So when we think of who's responsible and whatnot, there is a leadership team too that works under Dr. Brabrand in charge of various departments to make sure that things run smoothly. And as the school board right now, we're working closely with them to try to make sure we bring everything to their attention, which we've been listening. You guys have sent us many emails, tweets, Instagram messages, Facebook, and that's precisely what we try to curate and bring to him in helping guide the school system. So thank you, Kimberly. And now you know some of the players involved here. As a school board, because this has been such a unique situation, we have actually been limited as to how and how often we're able to meet. So normally, we have our public meetings. Last week, you may know that all of our public meetings were canceled as a result of this, of course, for social distancing purposes, which, by the way, we're excited to be able to live stream through Zoom. It's a unique kind of feature for social distancing, and we further, continue to encourage everyone to do that. But what that does is we actually had to ask permission from the governor to be able to meet virtually through video conferencing as a school board to continue conversations about the emergency. So not only, of course, did that cause a delay, but even right now, we're not able to meet publicly to continue proper business about the budget and the various things that are coming up without permission from the Board of Supervisors, which we are still awaiting and have sent a letter for. So just a bit of a sense of where things are legally and where the limitations may and may not be right now. And that's because of a law, it's a sunshine law in the state for local boards that, we're not allowed to meet in groups without that being public, so that everyone is able to know what information, what conversations are happening and what information is there. So just a little bit of background. So tomorrow is going to be a school board meeting, which we got permission for, a virtual one. So you can tune in to see what we're going to be talking about. We're going to try to get some COVID updates and whatnot. Not necessarily in as much detail as today, this session, but to make sure that we, are out there and explaining to the community what's happening. So let's give, I want to make sure that we also give some shout outs and thank yous. So Kimberly can go ahead and take the lead on that one.
Yeah, so we want, in the light of a bunch of negative things, we also want to express some positivity and say thank you to almost everyone, more specifically students who have organized and come together to brainstorm and help compile information, translate this whole thing. There's there's documents attached to the stream, I believe, and there's students who have been helping us to translate into different languages so that it's accessible as possible, and those who are continuing to work with us to raise issues and improve this whole situation. And also the food services staff, the custodians, drivers, social workers, parent liaison, SPEDs, tech team, health officials, all those who have been in the front lines helping the community to continue to do what we do best and to basically keep us all going. As of yesterday, there's been 83,514 meals delivered. That's insane. So also, just another thank you to the leadership team, staff, principals, teachers, parents, basically everyone who's listening right now. Just a huge thank you to kind of get us trying to keep going and trying to return to a normal that we once knew, and also become accustomed to our new normal for now.
Absolutely. There have been, thousands of people across this county who've been working very hard, and those on the front lines in particular, custodians, bus drivers, as you mentioned, social workers, huge thank you and shout out to our first responders. We're also excited that today, with the help of these student activists who've been doing an incredible job, who also determined the name of this live stream, who are providing services in multiple languages. So I'm going to offer a sentence just to give folks an idea and that they are able to comment, and then we'll move forward with some specific information about the county and where we're at. So this is being provided in right now, English, Spanish, Korean, Arabic, and Telugu. If you have any questions, you're welcome to put those in the live feed. So I'll say that in a couple languages in a second. إن شاء الله حنوفر المعلومات بعدة لغات، فإن كنتم تريدون المشاركة فقط شاركونا بالأسئلة تحت. Queremos ayudar a ustedes en todas las lenguajes y por eso, si ustedes tienen preguntas, por favor, escríbenlos debajo. And I have Korean as well. In one moment, please.
발표 끝나고 다른 채팅방에서 질문 받는 시간이 있겠습니다.
So if folks have any questions or know friends or family who are seeking information in those languages, please do refer them and feel free to comment in any of those languages. Fairfax County also does have 8 language lines that we encourage people to refer to. And in the chat, in the description of this video, you'll notice we have links to various information documents. Again, huge shout out to the students who have helped us put that together. So, situation in the county. Broadly speaking, before we get into schools specifically. So right now we do have 80 positive cases that we've ID'd in Fairfax County or City of Fairfax, City of Falls Church, which are really close by. Including 1 death that's occurred in our community. So again, being mindful of our neighbors and the mental health and well-being of everyone at home to make sure they're all okay. Again, rest assured that these are things that are being taken care of. I know we are in partnership with INOVA right now, who has let us know that they are open and currently testing for the virus. So if you feel you need support, health supports, if you need to be tested, that is a place you can go. The Fairfax County local government we've been partnering with, of course, as well. They have extended the deadline for real estate taxes by a month. So rather than having to pay July 28th, it's being extended to August 28th to provide some ease for families. And in addition, all government buildings are going to be closed starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Instead, the local offices and as you've seen, McKay Messenger emails from our chairman will be providing further information about how to access resources. Finally, there was a primary in June. As of now, we encourage everyone to vote early if you are a registered voter in the county, because you are able to mail in. And usually with early voting, you have to put in a reason, but now the Department of Elections is saying that anyone can choose option 2A, which just says that for reasons of illness, you want to vote early. So anyone is able to, as of now, vote in advance of that primary to prevent having to come in person, of course, in June. So that's kind of where we're at as a county. In terms of where we're at with school delays and whatnot, as you all know, the governor has issued the requirement to shut down schools from now until the end of the year. And it's been kind of a situation where folks reasonably have asked, why have we not started instruction online? Why has this taken so long to get here? One of the best school systems in the country, why do we have these kinds of delays? I promise you there are very good reasons for why we're here. And Kimberly will share a little bit of what we've been working on so far to just give you a sense of how big this operation really is to handle an unprecedented situation.
So there are a lot of things that need to be accounted for. So I think it's important that as a community, we keep in mind just exactly a bunch of things that have to go into things just to make sure that we understand why it's taking so long. So there's a transition time needed for staff who are now also at home with their kids and need to make arrangements before they're able to go back to work. There's deep cleanings of schools and the retrieval of items that are needed to continue with our learning. The safe distribution of materials is also required because safety of our students is actually probably the highest priority in our school system. There's laptop distribution for about 15,000 middle school and elementary school students in accordance to health and department guidelines, and it all has to be done one student at a time. Technology infrastructure, availability for all students, meal provision and shelter accommodations for thousands, the diverse learning needs for all our students, the mental wellness, and being in proper spirits to continue with learning from home. And just complete readaptation and development of the curriculum, the printing and mailing of 125,000 learning packets weekly to homes across FCPS, and appropriate teacher and staff training to ensure that this is done with the utmost fidelity.
So since the announcement for closing, where have we been and what has the governor kind of guided us to do? As Kimberly nicely outlined, there have been a number of considerations and things that the county has been working on. The governor did give us guidance not to start schooling for 2 weeks after his announcement to shut down. And that's largely because of the transitions that Kimberly has touched on. We're also restricted in a number of ways. So now when we offer technology or different resources, they have to be done, as Kimberly touched on, one by one to make sure that safety is taken care of and sanitization is properly handled. So I just wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that. And that's part of why we're here now 2 weeks figuring out what's coming next. And I assure you, I mean, as a member of the public myself, I'm, my colleagues on the board and I have been closely monitoring what's happening, in touch with staff regularly, and really seeing that, I mean, again, working all day, every day, weekends, nonstop, everyone involved to make this a successful operation. And so we're right on time. I don't want folks to feel panic or to think that, oh my goodness, we're behind, or we're getting there, folks. And we know families are distressed, and we're providing those resources and making sure that on the front end now, when we think of a county that has so many diverse needs, people from all sorts of backgrounds, how are we ensuring that we build that infrastructure now in just the couple weeks we have here to ensure that when we do roll out school for several months to come, and who knows what's in the future, that we do that successfully with fidelity, that we do it effectively, making sure that all kids are able to access the education and that it's well curated and adapted, right? Because some of that curriculum has to be adjusted for students with special needs, for students who are English language learners. So all this upfront work right now is preparing us to be successful for what's coming. And certainly, with staff also who have to, our own teachers who have to figure out what realities are going to happen at home when their kids are now at home as well, and figuring out their own situations before we can really expect of our employees the caliber of instruction that we look forward to having. So as you know, as we mentioned, the governor has closed their schools, and administrative offices are also closed until further notice. As of now, only essential personnel are reporting. In terms of pickup of materials, so we've received questions about students who may have things in their lockers and want to pick up a laptop and this and that. Currently, the staff who are in charge of the technology distribution, which we'll touch on a little bit later in terms of what's available, are the same staff that are going to be doing the one-to-one distributions. They are properly trained in the sanitation practices required by the governor right now, that one-to-one contact. So they will be handling that as soon as the technology distribution is complete. So again, before the start time of schools, which I'll talk about in a second, this is all happening to get us prepared for that point. In terms of what's happening, updates on learning moving forward. So online school will start on April 14th. That's right after spring break. So just being mindful of the calendar and what's coming up. I know folks have sent in a lot of questions about third quarter grades, what's going on. As of right now, third quarter grades are not closed, okay? So students who are worried about the opportunity to improve their grades will have the chance. We're just working through right now to see what the various options are. And actually tomorrow, our head of instructional services will be presenting thoughts on this to the school board to see where we want to head. So I look forward to advocating for all of you. And you're welcome to, of course, send in your comments and chats here, your questions and ideas as to what you would like and how we proceed on that. But we want to make sure we're being fair. Of course, not everyone even has necessarily access or the same opportunities right now. So grading is a key equity challenge and something we want to think about in terms of what our expectations are going to be. That distance learning plan will be in conjunction with what staff are expected to do. So staff will be reporting to start virtual work on March 30th. So all our teachers, there was a distance learning email sent out to everyone this morning. And I encourage all families, make sure you check your inbox if to have received that. If you didn't, there is more information on the website, but I just want to make sure that folks are on the same page, that was sent out this morning. and teachers will be individually reaching out to students in the coming days. The goal is really to have, so today staff sent out to teachers instructing them to do so. And the goal is to have them within the next week or so have made contact with students so that by April 14th, again, we're all rolling in a successful way and that communication has been made. Part of the virtual learning experience is certainly not going to be the exact same, right? There's no way to provide the same kind of learning as in person, but there is an understanding that it's a critical piece for return to normalcy for students and to provide that instruction so that there are not major gaps as we continue to move forward. I do want to make sure I provide a note on special education students and English language learners and students who have limited technology access. As we speak, our staff are working for special needs in particular. The governor has issued guidance, the Virginia Department of Education, to make sure that students will continue to receive instruction. I know there's been concern about students with individualized education plans or 504s as to whether we'll be able to continue teaching them given the legal requirements. But we are absolutely keeping this in mind. And I guarantee you folks, I know staff are doing their best and have the right intentions and are working really hard. And as a school board, I promise we are holding the staff to that because this is critical. And we want to make sure that we're aware that, gaps can grow and can continue. And we don't want that to be the case for our special needs students who are one of the more vulnerable communities or student populations in this time. And of course, beyond just instruction, which will be sent out in packets, as Kimberly touched on, they are being mailed to families as a part of this distance learning plan. But our content area specialists are currently working with the Office of Special Education to see how that curriculum can be adapted and how we can continue to build on goals that are not only academic, but also the skills-based goals that a lot of our special needs students have. So our experts are currently really trying their best to develop that kind of curriculum, and we'll be rolling it out hopefully with that April 14th start. As for English language learners, as I mentioned, parents who speak other languages, we have these phone lines for you to ask specific information, but in a similar fashion are being looked into in a way that, we want to make sure we provide that, right? So we're going to be using our TV channel and whatnot. And there are more details specifically as to the curriculum, but teachers will be providing that information as to that one-on-one instruction in the coming week to be able to ease, the confusion, but also provide clarity on what the plan is for some of our most vulnerable folks who may not have the same opportunities. I'll talk a little bit more about technology access in a bit. In terms of what you can do now. So I wanted to call your attention to a couple of things. So, all right, great. School's starting on April 14th. What about now? So as I mentioned, with the restriction for the governor not to provide instruction for the 2 weeks, fine, but we still want to teach our kids, right? And there are still many, many opportunities for them to continue instruction. So I wanted to just show folks, I'm going to share my screen here for a second. To show folks some of the places that they can find updates. Okay, so if you go to fcps.edu, I'm sure many of you have been on this page already, and we actually know that hundreds of you have, just the main page here. You will notice, as soon as this loads, you'll notice that there is a response update right when you get there. This will continue to be updated on a daily basis. As you notice here, it was updated today with more information and particular details here on high school, middle school, and elementary school. But besides just this website, because I know folks have been on this already and have seen it, I did want to just refer you folks to a couple of things. One being right here, an academics and continuity of learning plan. There are some resources available to families that you can utilize from this website. Are they, enough for day-to-day instruction? Of course not. And we're continuing to work with staff and ask the questions to make sure that we're going to continue to have these materials. But these are things that students can work on for the time being as they, adjust into a more structured learning environment on the 14th. In addition, I wanted to make sure I highlighted some of these mental health opportunities, which we'll talk about as well as on the county level in a second. And finally, I did want to show folks fcps.edu/TV is a place where we have all our channels streaming. We have 3 channels that all of you are able to access if you do have cable or TV. And if you don't, of course, they're available here, where some of our English language programs will actually be available. And throughout the day, especially in midday, we have some curricular programs. Each of these channels will be hosting for various groups. So elementary, middle, and high will be on different channels. And you can see their broadcasting schedules on this website as well in the programming guide right here. So just wanted to make sure that folks were aware of those resources. Another announcement that we heard today that was really good news is this is an external resource, but Jason Schools, which is a homeschooling online platform, is providing free instruction, particularly in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math for students until April. So they're helping us kind of cover some of that time. And I would encourage families to look into that. And we're encouraging our staff to also put that on the website for it to be available to families. But again, that's Jason Schools. It is in the document that we put out here for you guys. So if you want to kind of explore some of those resources in the meantime. Okay, so, right. So channel 21 is for elementary, channel 25 is middle, channel 99 is for high. Those are the optional, not graded, and none of this until April 14th. None of it's going to be graded, but we want to make sure that students as much as possible are able to utilize this time, and that we don't have major gaps by the time everyone is in online class. So with that, Kimberly, we also have many general resources that are countywide that Kimberly will touch on.
Okay, so general resources. So we are super lucky that thousands in our community have come together to make these resources available for all of us. Even though we are looking through the legalities and guidelines to see what is feasible for organizing drives and collection efforts. So county resources, there's coordinated service planning, and the numbers are also, they're in the documents. All the numbers that are provided that I'm talking about right now are provided. And there are 5 subcommittees currently strategizing and organizing in terms of food, health access, transportation, youth programming, and financial assistance. In terms of technology, MiFi devices are available for students, and laptops are being collected from schools as we speak to be distributed to families who do not have them already by appointment. In terms of mental health, this whole situation could be very straining on one's mental health. So if there's ever a time where students, or frankly anybody, feels as if they need help, I highly encourage you guys to reach out to the crisis hotline that we've linked onto the document. And also there are also general resources that say if you're not in a crisis situation, but say if you just want to take into account your own mental health and make sure that you are having resources to make sure that you keep yourself in the right state of mind. There's a website called 7cups.com, and it's experts that are free online, and Sky School's Facebook Live.
You can translate this thing. There's
online employment options are being explored, and it's similar to what was modeled during the summertime. And Mental Health Services Administration disaster distress hotline, which is anonymous and multilingual, is also linked in here. And also, even though many of us have the opportunity and basically the good fortune to be able to go home and spend this time at home with a family and surrounded by people who love them and are taking good care of them, that is not always the case. So if anyone is finding themselves in a situation or a household that is abusive or they're facing domestic violence, we also have a hotline for that, and we encourage anyone in these situations to please seek help.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kimberly. And what's great is this is all in partnership with the county as well. So the county right now has, first of all, there are tens of organizations, if not hundreds, across the county that have come forward to help with what we mentioned, health, transportation, youth programming, and whatnot. So if you are someone who wants to help, we'll talk a little bit more about that later as to how to do that. But these organizations, essentially, I'll mention these numbers for you guys here. If you are looking for coordinated services planning opportunities across the county, what that means basically is things that are not necessarily school related and not necessarily food related. So we'll talk, because we're providing that ourselves, that you might need support with. 703-222-0880. Many of you guys may know this number. It's kind of our county support number already. Again, in the document for folks to refer to. As of today, so if you do not have internet at home, maybe you have data and you're accessing this without internet, but we want to also make sure we provide that message. And we are going to be, by the way, as a school system, we mail to everyone who we are aware does not have these kind of capabilities, and anyone who doesn't have like a parent Blackboard account, we end up mailing this information. So just so folks are aware that those are the considerations we're making. But so anyone who doesn't have that, we provide the MiFi device that Kimberly mentioned, and laptops as well for kids who don't have those. The instruction as of now is to contact your school directly. So I did receive some correspondence about this, folks who were concerned about it. Please make sure you contact your principal. If you're having a really hard time, feel free to contact me, and you can mention it in the comments if you'd like. Otherwise, I'm happy to receive privately your concerns, and I can always flag them as much as possible. But again, when you hear from your teachers directly, that's also going to be another opportunity for you to voice any of those concerns. And I wanted to just make sure I provided these numbers verbally as well. Mental health wise, as Kimberly mentioned, you know, there are folks who are going to be in crisis during this time, but also for our own general wellness and happiness and well-being throughout this time, as many of us are, you know, with full recognition, maybe have relatives who are ill and who are going through a tough time, elderly parents, multi-generational households, right? We want to keep in mind, we are going to get through this as a community. And these are some of the resources that are available and folks who have put forward to be there for us. So the number that we have here for Crisis Link is 703-527-4077. They also have a texting service. You can text "need help" to 85511. Again, that's 85511. That's for drastic scenarios. But for general help, Kimberly mentioned the breathing exercises, meditation, whatnot, that Sky Schools is putting on their Facebook page on a daily basis, multiple times a day. So if you're just really stressed and this is overwhelming, you can tune into one of these sessions and with, you know, scientifically proven methods that through breathing really cool you down and hopefully bring you more to an equilibrium, and especially for students out there. One of the things that did come to my attention as well, we're all going to be spending a lot of time at home. So, you know, kids who may have a hard time, who may feel, who may be in abusive situations, anyone who, you know, a friend, or if there's any domestic violence issue that you encounter, there is an anonymous, you know, free hotline that we want to refer people to as well in our county, 1-800-799-7233. So feel free to call. And of course, you know, if there is a line for deaf and hard of hearing as well, we've typed that in for folks so it's accessible. And if you know anyone, 1-800-787-3224. And this live stream will also be available as a video, so you're welcome to, you know, go back and listen to the numbers or view them in the document itself. And of course, in times of crisis, there's particular mental health support that is needed to counsel folks through this tough time and transition and just a lot of what's going on. So there is a national service that's anonymous and multilingual, which is another hotline, 1-800-985-5990. And just a comment from me about this, you know, when I've worked with a lot of these students, and Kimberly knows this better than I do, there can be stigma with this kind of topic, and we're all going to be going through a stressful, tough time right now, with especially being cooped up at home, not going out, and we want to be there for each other as a community. So whatever ways that we can further provide, you know, as I mentioned, if you want to send me an email so that you don't have to be public about your need or whatever it is, I'm happy to be helpful in that way. But I hope that we can all be supportive of one another as well. Sometimes it just takes that friend or that person who observes you being kind of down to say, hey, why not? Let's access a resource. Why not? Let's do a breathing exercise online. These are some of the things that I think will help us get through this together. So with that, we also have food distribution that has been happening, and thousands of meals have been distributed. I will let Kimberly talk to us a little bit more about what is available for families who may need that.
Okay, so over the couple weeks, FCPS has been distributing grab-and-go lunches. So that will also be continuing, but there will be changes made. Starting March 27th, which is tomorrow, FCPS will be implementing a curbside service where food and nutrition staff will be delivering meals to vehicles and school bus lanes or in kiss and ride lanes. This service will be open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Breakfast and lunch can be picked up at the same time. And if you will be walking instead, please use the school sidewalks and stand at least 6 feet away from others. Also, please remember to wash your hands before leaving your residence and after arriving to your residence and before food consumption, just to make sure that the spread of germs is as limited as possible and that we keep our community members safe.
And this is a switch from the current way we've been doing it. Starting these couple of days, we had been doing the delivery like line, but now it's only curbside. So just to be mindful. And all of the locations are on that same website that I was showing you guys earlier, to be able to identify the various schools and community centers that are offering it. So with regards to distance learning, we mentioned earlier the schedule and the timeline. As I said, the superintendent is has sent this morning a detailed kind of timeline for what that's going to look like. Instead of going into it in detail, it is in the document. If anyone has questions about it specifically, do send those in. And I see many questions coming in here already, which we will be addressing shortly. We just have a couple more things to cover here today. Okay. So a small tidbit about high school specifically from Kimberly.
Okay, high school. So in terms of, we're on to like the College Board and IB terms, right, Abrar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in terms of College Board and IB, all information that pertaining to all the exams and all that stuff, they will all be here on this document. So please feel free to look through it. All in-person exams have been canceled, and depending on whether you're doing it through IB or College Board, different accommodations will be met to kind of look through and see how things will be replaced, if they'll be replaced. So please take a look at that. And in particular, for information for seniors, their decisions have not yet been announced about graduation or senior activities, though as you know, schools are closed. So please keep that in mind. We are waiting to hear from the Virginia Department of Education about graduation requirements in light of this crisis. So we will explore options and we will update you in future streams. If you have any ideas or want to share anything that you think can still make this year special virtually, please let us know, because we're still, despite the circumstances, we still want to make the senior year a special year for seniors and make sure that they don't miss out on all the activities. So me and Abrar will be trying to reach out to class councils to see how we can work with staff to have virtual experiences and what we'll be able to do in the future.
That's exactly right. We have you in mind. I know it's very stressful and saddening to think that many of these senior things are not happening in person, but we have not made a final decision about whether graduations are canceled. There's a consideration of postponement, talking about all the various options. So hang in there, folks. We are going to be doing our best to try to make this a special opportunity for you all. It's crazy, an historic time that you will be graduating. So, and when it comes to graduation requirements, the Virginia Department of Education will be providing more guidance on what that's going to look like. But certainly, what we're advocating for. So we're going to try to push for what's best for you guys here to be able to complete those credits. I wanted to make sure I also provided an update on staff. So there's a lot of uncertainty, of course, with our economy right now. What's going on with folks and their jobs and whatnot. So we have made a commitment that we will continue paying our staff. All contracted staff will continue to be on their salaries as planned in the budget through the end of the year. Many of our neighboring jurisdictions and whatnot are doing the same. As for workers under a temporary status, I want to make sure just provide an update here. So the school board voted a couple of days ago to continue paying folks on temporary status for 2 weeks. And we will be revisiting that decision. I personally will continue advocating in that direction. And as a board, we want to make sure we factor in the financial situation, broadly speaking, and be in touch with some of these families and figuring out where the needs are and what resources we're able to allocate. So stay tuned for a board decision at a later time, within 2 weeks time, hopefully, for that. And then if you have any questions as an employee of the school system, There is an email, hrconnection@fcps.edu is where the HR department is asking folks to communicate. So be sure to send in any concerns. And again, I'm always happy to be a bridge for you in any way that I can be, recognizing that I am getting hundreds of emails and happy to respond to all of them and tend to your needs truly. But I want to make sure I send you to the proper channels first, because that'll be my first go-to as well. So that's our situation with staff right now. I should also mention that some of our frontline staff have been paid at 2.5, of course, because it is overtime during the closure. And they've really been doing some incredible work, putting themselves even in some risk. Our cafeteria workers, our food service workers, our bus drivers, some of our social workers who've been on the front lines really providing some of these services, and our SPITs, our technology support staff, who've been delivering laptops and taking them out of school buildings and doing that, in addition to our custodians, of course, who help clean up schools and whatnot. Okay, so where we're at right now. So we are wrapping up this informational portion. We want to give you a sense of ways to help, future questions to be addressed. And then I have my school board notebook here with me to take note of any questions that I may not have answers for. And I will also, I have your chat right here, your live stream questions that I will be, Kimberly and I will be start answering as we see these questions come in.
Okay, so I just want to go into ways to help. So individuals, Volunteer Fairfax is working with the county to connect with all current service providers, and health centers are in critical need of blood donations. So I, for one, I love to donate blood because that's one way that we can make a difference in the system. And we should also be thinking extra hard about our medical state, because I'm sure if we're all looking at the news, it's kind of a lot. They're going through a lot in the medical field right now, and we can do our part to help them. If you have the ability to donate blood, I strongly encourage you to. And students, join us in any way that you see fit. And feel free to contact us if you have any ideas of what we can do, any suggestions. We are always here to talk, and we have our contact information is on fcps.edu, and there's also more contact information below the document. In terms of organizations, please contact the community services planning, and they're connecting partners for work in the 5 subcommunities. And future questions to be addressed. These are some questions that we've gotten over the past week from students, and I'm just going to read them out just so you know that it's already on our minds. So the effects that this will have on summer programs, for example, Gov School, the grading system for third quarter, as we talked about earlier in this live stream, it's still up for consideration. We're still going to be talking about it, and also we'll hear more information about it tomorrow in the virtual school board meeting. Accommodations for graduation ceremonies. We just talked about that in info for seniors. We are rooting for seniors. We really want to have the graduation ceremonies because we know it's a very pivotal moment in everyone's lives, and it's very important. Will students be using Zoom? Will online classes follow the same time schedules as before? Will they be rearranged? Will graduation requirements for next year be adjusted to accommodate for the SOL requirements? And how will course placements for 6th graders be affected amidst cancellation of SOL and the Iowa test?
Thank you, Kimberly. So those are some of the questions that came in the student brainstorm. I have taken note of those and have been emailing staff and really working with folks to get answers. That's, again, a huge part of this today, guys, is to ask those questions that you can't find another place to ask them. And I'm going to try my best to go forward and to bring that information for you to bring some peace and ease for everyone. So I'm going to start looking through this, and you guys can start sending in your questions, and I will start on a first come, first serve basis. So going through here, I see a question. Yeah, the earlier students start online, it will also help with dealing with emotions related to the current situation. Absolutely, which is why we were mentioning as well, we were following the governor's guidance and putting in place the infrastructure necessary now so that we can execute successfully once we do start. There's going to be a lot of troubleshooting challenges and making sure everyone has technology. All of that is really being done, and folks are working 24/7 really right now to ensure that's the case, to bring that normalcy that students are looking for. Can you explain where in his executive order the governor prohibited distance learning for 2 weeks? So I should clarify, it was guidance that was offered from the Virginia Department of Education. Our superintendent has been on regular calls with the various superintendents across the state, with the Department of Education and the governor's team, to make sure that we're all on the same page with the needs across the state. So I can certainly look for whatever that, where specifically it's mentioned. I believe it was included in the governor's correspondence to the community. There was a long letter that he ended up sending, but he probably also sent some more detailed information to our staff. So I will ask about that particularly. But again, to clarify, it was not an executive order. It was guidance that he offered for many good reasons, which we outlined earlier, that I hope you will have the chance to read.
Also, if
Yeah.
I may, I just wanted to put out there kind of certain things that I've seen as a student that kind of would probably give insight as to why it's taking so long. So personally, I've worked with my school technology team. Well, not like worked with them. I've just kind of seen what they're doing. And also they have a lot of work to do. And I also want to bring to attention, like one of our students commented in the section, in the comments, and she wanted to take into account that a lot of students in our county have, amidst this whole thing, have lost access to like their internet, certain valuable materials that are needed to further their education. And it'd be kind of like an equity gap to immediately pop into where we left off, because then there'll be students playing catch up, and it'd also be an entire debacle that I personally feel, I just want to speak personally, that the way is to perfect, to make sure that every student has the proper ability to start, and so that teachers also have an organized start line instead of a jagged ended start line.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Kimberly. And thinking about the situation of families as well, right? So a lot of families who are laid off, who have to figure out financially, may not be able to sustain themselves anymore, or the current living situation that they're in, right? So while many of us in the county are lucky enough really to be able to sustain what's going on, there are many others as well who don't have basic needs, right? Who relied on the school system for lunch and breakfast, who don't have technology at home and don't have internet access. So so making sure that we're successfully doing those things before we're able to provide that instruction. So next question. Why is FCPS not conducting teacher-directed learning by now? Neighboring districts are doing it. Why aren't we? So thank you for this question. As we mentioned, the governor's guidance was for the first 2 weeks. In terms of neighboring districts and other opportunities, we currently have opportunities for learning that are out there. And I mentioned Jason Schools as well, which is another program it's a private thing, but they're providing it for free until we start instruction. But those are some of the opportunities and resources that we have. What's currently going on is not a lack of instruction or discouragement of that. It's just that we're not requiring it. So it's, students are not accountable for it. So grading and whatnot, because, you can't really grade 190,000 students when some of them don't even have, food or a laptop or internet at home, right? To be able to hop on. So yeah, it's just not formal, and it's not the structured learning that we're going to be moving towards for April 14th. So I just want to make sure folks are aware that we want to encourage parents and families to continue accessing these resources and tuning into the TV channels that you may not be aware are there. We have instructional segments for a majority of the afternoon for elementary, middle, and high, depending on the channel. So again, I encourage you to tune back into some of the previous parts of our conversation and to check the document for more info. And finally, your teachers, as I said, will be contacting you in the coming week, is the hope. I know March 30th, they're starting virtual work. So we're going to be expecting from them that best practice. Oh, and an additional point, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier. I was speaking with our IT department today, and our hope is a best practice, and we look forward to implementing a system where lectures will be recorded for students. So as they're learning, that material will be available, and that flexibility will be there for them to access it when they're able to. Because from an equity perspective, some children are now caretakers for their siblings. Some kids are still working in restaurants and some of these essential businesses to support their family. And believe it or not, some of our kids don't even necessarily have two parents or a traditional household who provides for them. So given those circumstances, we're going to be providing that flexibility of learning to make sure that families are accommodated as well. Okay, next question. Let's see. Oh, I see that someone put the release, so I guess I don't have to do that. Matthew, I think Demetria posted a link for you there, so thank you so much for helping us here with that resource. When will students have the opportunity to retrieve their things from the lockers, and will they be penalized if they're missing things for third quarter grading? Excellent question. Again, so there will be time designated for students to pick up their stuff. And the goal, my personal goal as a school board member, is to push for this, that it will be before April 14th so that students can begin on instruction on the same level playing field here as much as possible. I mean, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to do that. But so once our technology specialists are finished delivering the 15,000 laptops through the governor's safety procedures, which is one by one, they will also be the ones distributing and making sure that materials that have been left in the schools are given to families. So that will be done. It is in the timeline right now. It's just going to take some time for them to accomplish this first goal to get to the next task. And in terms of penalizing and whatnot, one, students will not be penalized for technology that they're going to end up having to keep or what, if it's not collected at the end of the year. That was a question that did come in. So don't worry about that. And then the grades, as I said, third quarter has not been closed out as far as we're concerned. So students will have the opportunity, as soon as teachers log back on, to give them something to improve their grade or to kind of work through those, to bring that up, because I know some students were concerned about that. So again, third quarter is not closed yet. And we are trying to think of what the best solution will be for grading moving forward. The Director of Instructional Services will be bringing a proposal to us, his decision. Ideally, what from my understanding is tomorrow's meeting. We'll see how that goes. The discussion may end up taking it a little bit longer to get school board's guidance on where we want to head with that. Okay, let's see. No, so I want to clarify, Chris. So the document, the distance learning plan with the details, the grid is what's provided from the school system. We are starting instruction April 14th. Okay, so that's right after spring break. So that's part of why that week lag is there, not the 23rd. So just clarifying that. And let's see what else here. And staff, as I said, are going to be starting required virtual work on March 30th. So really, I mean, in a few days here, to make sure that they connect with students and start sending them those resources and following up with them, getting in a rhythm of what this is going to look like so that we can then on April 14th begin formally assigning them tasks. So it's not that they're not going to have anything, right? Just clarifying that for folks. April 14th is when we're formally starting, but from now until then, teachers will be contacting students to begin posting assignments and activities that they can do. Let's see. Very concerned about our schools aren't doing anything with our continuing learning. I hope that what I just said helps clarify that. And Kimberly, feel free to chime in. If peers have heard from teachers or resources that you have on Blackboard or whatnot already.
As of right now, I'm looking at the long comment that was made in pertaining to AP exams, and I believe her name is, I'm not sure if that's her name, but I'm gonna say Obsidian for now. And if I could just say something like, I hope I'm not reading this incorrectly. So I understand the concern about the whole online learning being one size fits all. But in terms of AP and IB courses, I just wanted to point out, since those are independent, I would suppose, like, I don't want to say vendors, but for lack of a better word, vendors, those kind of have their own course of how it's going to go. So FCPS, say if it was like a general education class or honors class, that say the Virginia Department of Education has more of a say in their curriculum, then I think that's what the FCPS online learning, distance learning would be more applicable to. But since AP, I think I would look into the document that we put up in the live, because there's updates pertaining to it. And I understand the concern because I also have an AP exam that I'm taking later on. And I would personally reach out to College Board and see what's going to be done, and also reach out to those specific teachers, because I'm sure that there's going to be guidelines from College Board for how they're going to teach that course and how they're going to basically fix it for now, because I understand the last few units that we were unable to learn, those are concerned. And I'm sure that from there, they'll be able to teach it in the way that will be most beneficial to the students who will be that are concerned about the exams.
Yeah, and to provide some additional details on that, thank you, Kimberly. So I just want to clarify for folks that part of the complexity here is AP, IB, a college board, I mean, which runs the SAT and AP, right? Those are private entities, right? So those are external organizations that make some of these decisions for themselves, and we ultimately adjust. Or, I mean, we make certain decisions, like we're not meeting in schools, and then they have to adjust to that, right? So it's this relationship between the two, and we also seek information from them. So where we are right now, I mean, AP, as Kimberly said earlier, all the in-person tests are not happening this year because schools are shut down by the governor's order. But AP will be putting out 45-minute exams for various courses, and they can be taken online. And they're also providing free prep material for those tests on their websites. So I highly encourage anyone who's concerned about instruction for those specific classes to begin accessing that from now. Just a couple of details here as well. We are waiting to hear back about some of the SAT subject tests and whatnot, and what the plans are for those, because the current SAT that's coming up May, and of course the March one, were canceled. And we're waiting to hear back about June, although as we've said, our school buildings are closed. So College Board will have to kind of provide some guidance on what their plans are for that, if it's even happening. So that is still information is continuing, and I will be providing this in updates the minute I hear in our next QuaranSTREAM session for folks. IB exams were canceled as well. They're coming up with some kind of calculation for an aggregate score and how they're going to be doing things. It's going to be a little bit different, but as we continue to get more information for them, I promise guys, I will be providing those details. For now, students, what you need to know is exams are canceled. AP specifically will be doing some online, so be sure to seek out those resources on the website. And in terms of the SAT, it's a really sad situation, no doubt. But colleges, luckily, are beginning to provide those accommodations too. So don't be too stressed out about this. They're obviously aware that they can't expect everyone to have taken the SAT, right? So they're also adjusting and becoming flexible to not requiring it necessarily. And we'll continue to get updates from our partners as to what we can expect as well. And I promise you guys, I'll provide that as soon as I have it. And if you have specific questions about it, I'm happy to answer that. So I hope that was a bigger picture. We are in the coming just few days waiting to hear from the College Board too. We're expecting to. So hopefully maybe on the Sunday QuaranSTREAM. If not, then the following Thursday one, by the time I have it, I will be sure to explain that. Okay, what are your plans for the summer learning classes? As Kimberly mentioned, it is a follow-up question because there's so much we're focused on right now to roll through instruction April 14th. We have not quite looked into the summer just yet, but I know that it's on staff's minds, and they're going to be providing us an update with that as we move along. What are some things we can do, students, to help others? I think Kimberly touched on a number of things. If you're a student and you want to join in on some of these efforts, we have an incredible group of young people who are helping spread this information, tell people about this. Because I think a lot of people are concerned and stressed out because they don't know what the future holds. I mean, all of us, uncertainty is a stressful experience for any human being. So we wanted to make sure folks know that we're here. We genuinely care. At the end of the day, I'm one of you, Kimberly's one of you, we have exceptional staff and rigorous minds. And folks who are really, not naive to the realities of the situation, who are taking care of it. So don't worry, it's just a matter of time. But yeah, and spreading some of these mental health resources, being there for folks, as we said. And if you want to safely volunteer in some way, I would contact Volunteer Fairfax, because they're the current formal partner with the county to provide volunteer opportunities for folks who want to help. So thank you for that question. Yeah, Chris, the letter from the governor is public. Someone linked to it above. So if you look through some of the comments, someone had posted it. So maybe that'll be helpful. For students with IEPs, how exactly will we provide accommodation at home? So as I said, it would be inappropriate really for me to actually give details because I'm not the expert, but I assure you, this is something I checked on this morning because I know I received some of these questions. We have content experts right now who develop the curriculum, who have been working with the Office of Special Education to adapt the materials, to make sure that whatever we send home, the learning packets, whatever we're going to provide online, for those who can access it online, right? Because that's an accommodation too. Some kids can't, or they need things read to them and whatnot. In partnership with the teachers who are going to be contacting families in the coming days, hopefully, to have that one-on-one care where, you know, maybe in the beginning things are not going to be perfect, but we're going to be adjusting because teachers are going to have that one-on-one contact with families. So we encourage you to be an advocate for your child. And certainly we have in mind that many kids don't have those advocates too. So that's where we come in, and we're asking those questions, I assure you. By April 14th, once we roll things out, you will have known before that what's happening, and I'll continue to provide info. But what I can promise you is every meeting we have, multiple school board members are asking that question, and we're going to be waiting for staff's update on exactly how that's going to look. And one more thing, there is a tab on the FCPS website specifically dedicated to special needs and how we're planning to roll things out. So I would encourage you to read that. If you have a hard time finding it, no worries, please send me an email. And I know it's not like exactly detailed. So once the curriculum is fully developed and it's starting to be sent out in the coming week, we'll be providing more guidance and answering questions further as there's more detail and things to work with. There have been rumors that classes will be graded on a pass-fail scale. Can you talk about the accuracy of that statement? Okay, in terms of pass-fail grades, what's going to happen? As I said, that's being presented to the school board to discuss. So we have not made a decision about it just yet. Part of it is also looking at the evolving situation, guys, right? So we're where we are now. We couldn't have predicted that we would be here, you know, a month ago, right? And if we had made a decision to shut down schools a month ago, it would have been a crazy decision to make because we didn't have the information. Or maybe would have made a decision to continue schools, and now we know the current situation, right? So as we continue to gain more information about the circumstances surrounding us, we're going to be, announcing things or adjusting accordingly. Again, I assure you, we are monitoring, we're watching all of it. We have staff constantly kind of receiving updates from the health department, receiving updates from the governor. So when it comes to the specific grade situation, we're going to be making a decision about that soon, and it'll depend on how well we roll out this initial infrastructure that we're building, right? So as we said, we're making sure kids have access to technology, that the teachers are prepared to train and to teach using a new platform. If we're able to successfully implement that, then you're more able to hold students accountable, right? But if there are gaps in our implementation or challenges families are having that we're not able to really bridge, given the lack of in-person connection, then it won't be as fair to hold people accountable based on a grade, right? So depending on our progress in that, we'll be making that decision. But as I said, don't freak out, because third quarter, you still have an opportunity to improve your grades. Okay. And someone brought up a good point here. Don't forget, we have about 190,000 students. So it's really a massive, massive effort here. Will online attendance factor into graduation? So this is a really good question when it comes to requirements about whether seniors will be graduating or not. This is something that the Department of Education will be providing us guidance on. We are currently awaiting more information from them about that. So as soon as we get it, I will be sure to update you guys. But some of it's not even really our decision that's going to be making. It's the department that's going to kind of make that decision for the state. Because they, as you probably know, right, there's like the diploma, the standard diploma, the advanced diploma, that kind of thing. Those are requirements that come from the state, the Department of Education. So as soon as we have that, we will be providing you with more information. And I'm taking note of that, actually. Grad requirements, these are all things that I am writing down to make sure that I get back to you guys. Okay, so someone pointed out that link was not the release. That's fine. I will look for this press release for you guys that you guys are looking for. And I would encourage you, if anyone is asking for a particular document and not just information, send me an email and I will, either attach whatever I have or direct you to the right person or try to help you out from there. Okay. Let's see. Someone else sent a release, so that might be it. I'm not sure if that second link was. will service hour requirements be altered? So that, okay, let's see, perfect. Matthew, just to clarify, the directive, as I touched on earlier, but may have been sent specifically to the like superintendent. So it may not have been a public document because it's just kind of irrelevant to some folks, but I will see if I can find that again. Send me an email, please, and I will see if I can provide that for you. That's what the school division has told us as the school board, and what we've been informed through the calls and conversations that we're having. So I'll do my best to find that for you. As for service hour requirements, that is a very good question. I will ask about that specifically. I can't imagine it not being altered, right? Because there's just not that same opportunity right now. But I will find more information on that one for you. Let's see. Will those kids in world language programs be able to have some type of Zoom meetings to help maintain language? Yeah, so electives will be taught as well. So that's good news for everyone. Even, music, physical education, the school system right now is working to try to adapt the curriculum. If that's successful, we will be providing that kind of instruction. So that what we're imagining is, you'll have a day for kids where you have these segments of time in a similar fashion, again, trying to bring normalcy to their day as school. So we will have our days structured with elective opportunities as well. And we'll be knowing more about that, of course, as families connect with you, as these teachers connect with you, they'll be providing guidance on how that's going to be implemented exactly. But yeah, I appreciate that. So world language is one of those electives, and I appreciate the question. Let's see. Will you change the battery on the smoke? Oh. All right, Wade. I appreciate the cheeky comment. It's, anyway. Where can we watch the school board meeting? Excellent question. So board docs is officially the school board, resource where all these materials are and whatnot. I would have to check. There should be a link that's posted there for anyone from the public to tune in. But what's more clear, Channel 21. Channel 21 is where we always live stream these meetings. We will have our school board meeting streamed there. And if you don't have, the TV or whatnot, or the channel, if you're not able to find it, it is online. So I showed you guys earlier, fcps.edu/TV. Once you go there, you'll see the live stream of all 3 channels that we have. One of those is Channel 21. So you can tune into Channel 21 tomorrow to see the school board meeting, which will start at 11 a.m. Okay. What about SOLs? So that's also being worked out. Obviously, in person is not going to happen. I did receive a question about SOLs and Iowa testing and that kind of thing. They're still working through this and whether it's going to be we're going to be able to do it electronically or not or whatnot. But again, that's actually a state requirement, right? So the SOL is administered on a state level. We're going to probably be getting guidance from the Department of Education as to how to implement that. So promise, as soon as I get the info, I'll tell you. But right now, rest assured that nothing that will be happening is unfair or we're going to be taking into consideration equity for everyone here. Okay, since there are so many complex issues that you're dealing with, why the centralized control might be better if schools are given more latitude to try to continue providing an education for our students? Chris, that's a very good question. We want to empower our administration, our principals, and folks who were in the building to kind of cater to those students. And that's exactly what's happening right now, right? So centralized leadership is required in a time of such uncertainty right now. And that's where our leadership team and folks are handling things. But teachers are also being trained. Actually, March 30th, as soon as they're required to work virtually, part of what that's going to be is also orientation. They're going to do virtual orientation and start getting teachers on the same page, probably, showing them how to do the online material and training them and getting them prepared for that, including our administrators we've been in regular contact with them to provide information to their staff. And today the superintendent sent a letter instructing, staff to send out information. So believe me, those relationships and that correspondence is happening. It's just as we move ahead and the admin are more prepared and trained and feel that they're empowered to do it, we're going to be certainly giving them the lead on many things, because as I said, starting March 30th, everyone is going to be working. They're all being paid and they're going to continue to work virtually, and we're going to rely on them. We count on them, right, to do this, because it's impossible with, I mean, a division of 190,000 students. We have incredible staff who are going to be taking the lead in many ways. And as I said earlier, there are a number of things that we would encourage you to contact your principal directly. So if it's technology access, if you're not hearing from your teacher in a matter of a week or so, those are all things to contact your principal directly, and they're still playing that role right now. So thank you. It's a very good question.
I also wanted to add in. So I think I understand the question. I understand the sentiment completely, but I also want to make sure, as Abrar said, it is centralized power or leadership is required in order to make sure that everything goes smoothly. We talked earlier in this live stream about all the things that just went on this week alone to make sure that things were rolling and make sure that our community was doing well. And that didn't have much to do with the educational part itself. So, and that was all orchestrated centrally. Even though we always have to make sure the individual schooling and the school pyramids, they all have their leadership, and those leaders are immensely important. But also they are also looking to the school board for guidance, and without that centralized guidance, it kind of is more likely than not that there'll be more issues that arise than if we were able to take what we have right now and make sure it's right before putting it out, rather than letting everything kind of go different ways. And also Kelly, who's very active in the chat, she also brought up that it could potentially become an equity issue. Some schools may not have some the same resources as another pyramid. They may have a easier chance to perform, to give these students more resources than if we were to just have it kind of go out through the more centralized area.
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. Right, as she pointed out, I mean, for example, with technology, a lot of that is, contracts of millions of dollars, that kind of thing. So no doubt, and I don't underestimate your awareness of that for sure. But as we empower our staff, they will be taking a significant role, because it is a team and we're a community, and we're doing this together. So will IEPs need to be amended to reflect service hours in a distance learning setting? So in terms of IEPs and what's moving ahead, I think I pointed out earlier, there is a piece that the Virginia Department of Education is going to be giving us some more guidance on. They have come up with a long report and guidance as to how we will continue providing instruction despite the legal situations that each student case involves. But that's something we're going to be developing as we move ahead. So as we gain feedback from teachers and instructional staff as to how they're able to implement various things, we're going to look back with staff. So I can ask this question specifically for you to see if I can get some more information with the service hours piece in particular. And I know some questions have come up about skills and different developmental needs of students with IEPs. So I will see how I can give you some more information, but I'm sure that there will be more clarity as we move forward. FCPS submitted a waiver to the VDOE. Right. Yeah. So there. Yes. So that is. I can get back to you on some of the details there. But the SOL situation certainly is in the works. We are going to be getting an update on the instructional situation tomorrow from the school staff who have been responsible for that. So I'll probably have more information for you on that in particular. But as I mentioned, VDOE is the one that requires these standards anyway, right? So they're going to be explaining to us what's happening from there. Okay. Yeah, Dania, your question on packets. So these may be more so like worksheets and things for students to work on as practice. But I'm sure that's still something to consider. So I will write that down as well as to how students will be accountable for the various things that they're, the work that they're doing in the packets, right? And I imagine teachers, as they follow up with families one-on-one, will have more information to offer on that as well. So yeah, is there a reason why we waited until March 30th to activate our teachers to use their snow days? If so, why would we sacrifice those days to get a jump on this? Yes, so the utilization of snow days, as you know, so I mean, for one, there are a couple things here. One is teachers had actually grading and whatnot to do, so a lot of them were actually working even after the closure. But guidance from the Department of Education not to continue with our operations and whatnot for 2 weeks was an important piece of this. I can certainly get you more information on that, but I will say that teachers have themselves had to adjust to a lot of these circumstances as well. We had not trained them to do things online and whatnot, and it was a period of a lot of uncertainty in that week or so. So getting us to a place where we can require that, where we can ensure teachers have the resources that they need as well, that they've taken everything out of the buildings, even though the buildings were shut down, if they need their laptops and materials. Teachers were just on this Monday getting the materials that they've left in the buildings. So that has been a big transition as well for the employees. And again, managing their own, now having their kids at home and how they're going to kind of operate within that. So there was some transition that was necessary even for them, and to not have been able to go to the buildings until they were sanitized. And so there were a number of steps involved there, but no doubt it'll be a great thing now that they're able to start and be trained and prepared to do that. Okay. FCPS started distributing food at only 4 elementary schools immediately after the closing and added more and more schools as they were able. Equity didn't stop food distribution in those early days. Why is it stopping teacher-directed learning now? So part of that challenge was also making sure our buildings were sanitized and proper, and that we had a number of trained staff to be able to deliver it. So that was more so a logistical reality that we were getting ourselves to. The superintendent would certainly have more detailed information on that. Again, I want to remind everyone, the school board's role really is to guide and direct the staff. And for us, really hearing from you guys and hearing the concerns, and we're on your side, right? So we collect the concerns. We use our judgment and our experience and expertise to come forward and review the plans that are there, and continue to ask the questions. I believe me, some of these questions that you guys have been asking are questions that we asked as well, and are awaiting responses from staff. But again, being mindful that they're working nonstop to address a number of things that are going on. So it's all coming, and these things will be resolved, and they're on folks' minds. It's just a matter of that process. Okay. If people and their families are start getting sick. Yes. So health priority, no doubt. Thank you for mentioning that, Thomas. And we want to also be mindful of families who are having a tough time right now and who have, sick relatives. So that'll be impacting a number of things. And that, again, from an equity perspective, I mean, families who are going through something like that, instructional guidance and whatnot is going to be different. And that's why having those teachers work with families one-on-one is going to be so important. And observing how things play out is also going to be critically important for informing how we're going to be adjusting, requirements or expectations to the realities on the ground. It would be really premature for us to come up, some of these questions that folks are asking, it wouldn't be the right thing for us to do to actually decide, because that, how things play out will inform that and help us make better decisions.
Oh, and also, I think I just want to say that, also, and I think we should also think about how during the school year and before this whole crisis came, there was already things that were being done. Say if a relative was already sick, say completely unrelated to COVID-19. Whenever a student is going through something with family, it's also it's part of our priority to make sure that the students have a good chance and a good opportunity to have a fulfilling education. And then we understand that there are things that happen to get in the way of that. And FCPS I personally believe has done a very good job at making sure that students have a chance to and also have kind of enabling ability, like resources to make sure that they've overcome this. And especially in this crisis, I think actually the teachers, staff members, and Fairfax County as a whole will make it their priority to make sure that students still feel as though they have an opportunity to succeed while also taking care of things outside of the domain of education.
Thank you, Kimberly. All very important points. Yeah, in terms of electives and personal fitness, I leave that to the curriculum experts, of course, but they're trying to find ways to adapt, again, to bring people to normalcy, to have folks, not feel that something's taken from them. And it doesn't have to be if we're able to be creative and innovative and find the ways to do it. So maybe personal fitness, I mean, digitally, I guess we can imagine ways that that's done, right? And I look forward to hearing more specifically from instructional staff how that'll be implemented. But the content experts are working with our various professionals to develop some, methods, and certainly with the teachers to see what they're able to kind of contribute as well. Okay, let's see. No, Chris. So to clarify, nobody is blocked from this session. This is a public, live stream. I want this to be everyone. Ask me the tough questions too. I am open to that, and we are prepared. I know we're in a good place where we are rolling things out. I'm not naive to the complaints and the concerns. Don't get me wrong. I wish I could wave a magic wand and have everything very clear and in place and rolling through. This is unprecedented and not an excuse, but just a reality. So I'm equally frustrated as you guys are sometimes in these meetings, but I understand, I'm seeing both sides here and trying to really work through and make sure that everyone is tended to in our community. So yeah, I'm not blocking anyone from this live stream whatsoever. It may be that they're not able to comment. I don't know if they have a Facebook account, maybe they don't have an account, they're not logged in. There may be a different issue, but certainly not. And welcome anyone who wants to hop on here. Cool, Joseph, I appreciate your comment. So he's participated in FCPS's online PE, and I guess the Fitbit was what held them accountable. So there's an idea for you. It will likely follow a similar plan. I mentioned earlier how mental health students were asking that they wanted a counseling session or something, or like to be able to sign up for office hours with psychologists and social workers. I was talking to the director of special services today, and she was telling me that they're looking into doing that in a similar way as the summer. So some of these things we've done in the summer and we can implement. I guess PE is another example. But again, the content experts will be developing that material. It would be inappropriate for me to kind of opine on that. Thank you, Maeve. Yeah, I don't know what the issue is. I'm sorry. If you email me and you're having technical difficulties, I can try to help you for the next one. I don't want you to miss out, but you're welcome to contact me in a variety of ways, always, of course. Let's see. With the mailed packets, what are the students doing with the papers? Will there be something that they have to scan and send to their teachers? What will the packets consist of? So largely the goal is to have things be digital, just to be clear. Okay, so for folks who have access to internet and are lucky and privileged enough to have technology and whatnot at home, that's the goal. It's distance learning. There are, of course, thousands of families though in our county that don't have that, right? So as we continue to roll out laptops, simultaneously we have to think about how we're preparing those students, right? So sending them those weekly packets and whatnot, or information to the families who don't have the same internet access, or maybe not the same reliability that others do. That's where paper comes in, and that's going to probably be instruction from the teacher as to how to handle that. Yeah, so more information on the packets specifically I know is on the FCPS website. I'm not the curriculum expert to be able to offer that, but I certainly will ask these questions about these packets, and don't doubt, honestly, that the staff have been thinking through many of them already. Once we get the presentation and see what their thinking has been, then of course we can kind of hold them accountable and ask more rigorous questions. But we haven't even had that presentation just yet because the rollout isn't happening right now. There is a focus on some other priorities until then. So, okay, let's see. Will work completed during online learning be graded for high school students? Okay, so yeah, thanks for the question. Grading, as I said, third quarter is not closed grading wise. We are still, students will still have opportunities and teachers will be communicating how to improve their grades. And in terms of online learning in general, that is a decision that has not been made yet. So the Director of Instructional Services will be coming to the school board and we'll be having conversations as the situation evolves, depending on how effective we are at rolling out our current plans with technology and access and whatnot. And if things are going smoothly, then we'll be able to make a different decision than if there are a lot of, bumps in the road with what families are able to do or not able to do, or if the crisis escalates or whatnot. So the decision hasn't been made yet about grades. Not because we're not thinking about it either. Let's see. Yes, electives will be taught virtually. Thank you. So that is the last question that I see. If anyone has, okay, here we go. Another question. Thank you, Chris. Fun fact, I don't think I blocked anyone throughout the campaign, but maybe I will make sure I double check. And it's my personal policy. I mean, as we can have the strongest disagreements, and there's no problem with that. At the end of the day, you're my constituent. I'm here to serve you and hopefully do my best for the community. So I will certainly check and see if anything like that had occurred, but I highly doubt it. So feel free to email me or message me offline, and I'll be happy to look into the specific case. Yeah, feel free to ask Chris, please, on her behalf or his behalf, or I'd be happy to answer that. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. I will, give this a sec or two to see if anyone else has any questions. We tried to compile, and again, a huge shout out and thank you to the students who really worked diligently to help arrange this and do the graphic and the technology and whatnot, and who are excited to help their fellow students with more information here. So I encourage you guys to look through that. If you have additional questions, you're welcome to be in touch. We will be live streaming again on Sunday at 7, and we're going to try to do this every Thursday and Sunday to just answer your questions and make sure folks feel reassured and that they have a venue and an opportunity to get things addressed if they're not being addressed otherwise. I'm going to do my best. I wrote these things down, and I'm really glad that Kimberly is here with me and she's representing our student voice. And we'll continue to take care of each other. Again, this is not easy for so many people. We are now we're experiencing the reality of how diverse our community really is and how many needs are out there, and how we can stand together and come together to bring about the best outcome. We will get through this. We've been through worse, as I said earlier. And at the end of the day, with strength, with intelligence and creativity, and really being rigorous about the various programs we're doing, and with the compassion that's going to bring us all together and make sure that we have an eye and a heart and an ear for everyone out here, I know we're going to get through it. So thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, be in touch. Bye-bye.